Howdy, everybody. Uh, I just realized that I say howdy, everybody, exactly the same way every time, but I don't use morning y'all, which I
That's
should.
right, you don't.
I should
I
be using that.
I've thought about jumping in and actually, reverse Uno carding it and
Mm.
using your own morning.
I think my y'all sound a bit more y'all than
No, they don't.
okay.
No.
All right. Well,
No, actually, they don't because I'm the one who's setting the message on your morning yawls every single morning. So
every morning.
you've actually got several versions of morning. Your nasal yawls are your best, I feel.
I have to agree. There's something like earwormish, right? It just gets stuck in your
Mm,
in your head, and you just keep
it
like,
does.
yeah. Oh, yes, it is fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't know also if you heard before you hit subscribe, because I know that's what you're jonesing to do right
I
now,
was
hit the
gonna, but
subscribe button. But
sure.
did you hear me talk about the guy who stopped me in, our local supermarket, our grocery store? And, he said, "Hey, I just tune in to listen to you say good morning and then have your coffee slurp, and then I bounce." He says,
There,
I can't stick around for the whole thing because I got work to do, but
yeah.
I do like joining you for your morning, good morning, then I bounce."
There's something um therapeutic about it, I guess.
Yeah,
Right when it's
maybe.
the same thing, even just that little
Yeah.
coffee slurp, like
Yeah, yeah.
there's something. There's something to it.
I guess
Daniel
there is
does say,
I
"Hey,
didn't
y'all."
know that.
So
I didn't know that until someone said, I was a little ways into my morning chat and someone said, "Hey, you didn't do your coffee slurp yet." I was like, "Oh, is that I
it's a
guess
thing.
maybe that's a pattern. I should do that." So,
It's a thing now.
it's a thing.
Yeah. It was similar. I was when we had Chris on here, and I was saying, I giggle every time you bring up the little juice packets. Can't remember what they're
Mm.
called now.
Is
And
it Capri Sun or something
yeah, the
like
Capri
that? Or
Suns. There we go. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I was like, I actually quite enjoy the whole like there's a lot of good content around it, but then he'll pull up a little Capri Sun, and I was like,
right.
it's nice, and you were like, no.
No. That one didn't work for me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing is that some people they just grow fond of the most random little
Yeah, fair
pieces of
enough.
someone's.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm right. It just didn't work for me. But,
Mm,
like, this so to be fair, the Capri Sun thing didn't work for me, but I just freaking mega Instagrammed Chris's, most not his most recent, but the video before, because I just thought, "Super legit,
it
man.
was a good one. Yeah,
More people need to see this
I agree.
without the Capri Sun."
Well, I
I'm just saying.
maybe they should have like a little cap. He should have a little Capri Sun like off in the corner, just as a reminder where he started, where he came from, that kind of stuff.
I wouldn't regram it.
Mm.
No,
You know what
I'm
we could
denying
regram
the
though
Capri.
is making sure that everybody liked, subscribed, and
I was
hit the
hoping you might go
notification bell.
there.
Oh yeah, I went there. Um, but so today I did want to make sure this is kind of hilarious. We're wearing matching shirts. We got
Like
matching
Gunny
mugs.
Highway. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're ready
Gotta
to
show
go.
up for PT with Gunny Highway wearing the appropriate T-shirt.
Exactly, 100%. So I saw you on your live IG, and I was like,
Ah.
yes, I'm wearing the same shirt. Yes.
It's a modern version. I don't know if you remember, what was his name? Stitch. Stitch, I forget his last name. Anyway, he's one of the characters. He's the, young African American, kid,
Oh,
in,
right,
and
right.
Stitch whatever.
Yep.
And he meets the old girl who's running
The bar, yeah.
that's right. And, "Oh, you do Gunny Highway's laundry?" And then he taps into being able to know what T-shirt is coming up every morning for every morning PT, and so then
Mhm.
they've cracked the code.
Adapt and overcome.
That's right. I love that. It's a
Uh,
classic scene, man.
it
I
really
mean,
is.
like, that's what you gotta do. You gotta crack the code.
Once you that's the thing, you also have to know that there's a game to it.
Oh,
We've
there's always a
talked about this,
game.
right?
Yeah.
But if you don't know it's a game, then you're just wandering around on the field.
Dude,
People are
even
running
worse.
past you.
Yeah, even worse than that.
Not
Not
even
only
on the
do you
field.
not know you're not in a game, you aren't having any fun. So it's
Mm,
one thing to be oblivious, then it's a whole nother thing to realize that there's a rule set of the construct that you can play in. Now you can play a game. So that's kind of like the intermediary position. And then the final piece is, oh, I get to play the game for fun. Because now
mm,
you're I mean, once you game the game, it's just fun.
yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that first morning of showing up, watching Gunny Highway's eyeballs wow, right out of his head as everyone's wearing the right T-shirt? That's good times, man.
Yeah, there's moments in life where if you can flip the switch on somebody and
Oh,
be like,
dude. Oh, yeah.
"Yeah, got
Yeah,
you."
it's sometimes it's just a handful of seconds that has no, um, tangible financial value, but no billionaire can buy. It's just
Mhm.
a moment where it's like everyone looks at each other, "Oh, yes,
Did that just happen? Yes, it
that
did.
happened."
Yes. Um, Daniel also says it is a thing. So carry on with your slurping. It's a thing.
Right.
He's got a good question,
Noted.
but before I get into the question here, um, he says Big Bird needs to pull out the guns to be even more clone like Shaun. See, the thing is,
You
I'm
do
rolling
need to
22s.
you need to work on the
I
guns.
need to work on those guns first. Then I'll bring them out.
Dude, so push-ups, we know that they're not your thing because apparently, your
Oh, they're
body
yeah.
defies the law of physics.
Mechanically inefficient.
It's
Yep, 100%.
impossible. Yeah, I mean,
100%.
it's impossible.
Totally not gonna happen. Yep.
We covered that to some degree yesterday. In
100%.
case
Yep.
in case you're wondering why Chance Bros is no good at chin-ups, review yesterday's session. But,
Oh,
you know what? Just because chin-ups are really difficult for you and you alone,
100%, yep.
maybe what
Harder
about
for me,
push-ups,
isn't it?
buddy? I mean, really. What about push-ups? Have you ever tried them? Have you ever thought about those things
I
called
have.
push-ups?
I have
Yeah?
tried them.
How did they
I've
treat you?
they pretty good.
They can
Yeah.
actually give you
They can.
they
They can.
can,
Um, I think the
'cause
first
I'm not on
issue
the
with
chin-up
this
bar either.
I think the first issue with this is the fact that I need to have adequate food. I think that's the number one thing
Yes.
that we need to deal with right now,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Standard detention barracks in Edmonton, bread and water that you've been on for the last decade?
More than
Not
decade.
correct. Yeah.
More like the last 4 decades.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's pretty crazy. It's been blowing my mind for the last couple of days of just, like, really letting it sink in and, like, wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
you know how you're
Wow.
able to let that sink in? Because 'Cause you've been letting some more calories sink in.
Actually, finally feeding the brain.
Finally, your
What
brain
actually
can
required.
recognize that your brain's been underfed.
Oh, man. Well, this is the beginning. I was talking with Rob at the end of jiu-jitsu last night, and I was like, we were talking about nutrition, and he just got a new squat rack, so he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, here, man, you can have mine," and I'm like, "Sweet." So that'll be nice to have. But the thing that we were talking about was like, I had no idea. I actually at one point thought I was eating pretty well,
Yeah.
and it's so now I'm not only am I standing at the base of a mountain, I have been walking around this mountain for a while. Didn't even know there was a mountain there. I just thought there were walls and like,
Dude, you
yeah, this is
weren't
all
even
good.
walking around, you were, like, crawling, but really
Crawling,
slow
crawling
because you
really
didn't have
slow.
the energy to walk.
Keep running into the wall over and over and over again. Yeah, it just unbelievable amount
It
of
what is
knowledge that I get.
fascinating and, it's not that you've been literally starving yourself for, all these decades. I mean, you'd be dead. But,
Yeah,
you have under-caloried, no doubt about it. But, I mean, you've managed to do some things. Nothing notable,
no,
but you've managed to do some
I've done a
things.
couple things. Yeah, little things here and there.
But it just goes to show you that, what you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah,
and it didn't stop you from trying to, like, do stuff. It's not like you ever thought, "I can't do anything this year because 'cause I'm not eating enough."
no,
So,
not
I
at
mean,
all.
you were out there doing stuff, doing your best, we'll call it. Um,
Yeah, okay,
we'll call it doing
we'll
your
call it
best,
that.
because 'cause that'd be a whole other podcast.
It's a whole other story. Yeah,
So you've been doing your best for some time, and it's been obviously non-optimal, and so you've managed to get some things done. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of encouraging that
Yeah.
you could do things from a baseline value of not awesome.
It does bring up the question of like, if you think about the actual capability of a person and the utilization of just one drive, right, which is to eat. You have a natural instinct to eat. You want to continually eat. But if you were to eat correctly for your body and how much that would affect every other aspect of your life, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, but in fact, I should probably grab the book, but it's over on my bookshelf. I was just flicking through it this morning, not because I knew that we would be continuing on with the conversation or that I'd be able to somehow employ it right now in this precise moment, but flicking through it, yeah, right. Flicking through it, it's called Endure by Alex Hutchinson, and he's basically a endurance performance scientist, and I use scientist loosely. He's in the industry studying it, writing a book, being all that he can be, talking, etc. But there's nothing, in my opinion, groundbreaking in that book. But as I'm flicking through it, I just keep nodding my head and saying, well, that's obvious. Well, of course. And I've read through the book like 3 times. Yeah, everyone knows that. Alex, are you a moron? Why did you even say that? Because that is so freaking obvious. But as every time I said that to myself, I was like, Chance Bros needs to read this book. But it's not that you need to read that specific book. It's more of a like a placeholder or a representation of what you do need to do, and that's just become more educated because
Yeah,
this book is too advanced for you.
probably.
And it's not that you're not capable of understanding it. You are. It's just that you need to build on this thing. You can't just say yesterday, oh no, I didn't know anything about anything called nutrition, but tomorrow I'm going to become a PhD. Where's all the PhD books? I mean,
Going
you got
hard
to
in the
ease your
paint
way into
for
this
3
thing, of
days.
course.
Well, that's the thing. And I think this is where I think a lot of us actually struggle too. And I'm going to use the word struggle because it's in the accurate definition of it, in the fact that it's a failing sequence of events.
Mm,
And we struggle with the fact that we know that we either don't know or that there is more information that is beyond us. And therefore we don't know where to engage it. There's like, we can't see where to start with anything and then go, okay, well, I'm going to work on this then, because I know what to do with that, and I'll get to that later. And of course, later never comes, right? Because, oh, well, I work on that. Oh, well, now I'm going to work on this. So now you can always find something else to work on. And I think that's where people struggle, is that it's like, oh, nutrition. Okay, yeah, I should know more about nutrition, but right now I need to take my kids to school, and then it gets pushed back, and then it gets pushed back, and then it gets put, and then it's just gone. And then 20 years down the road, you're like, oh yeah, right, I need to learn about nutrition. And then you're starting right at the beginning, that same spot again, without any sort of development past it. So I think that's where most people struggle with, that is the fact that we really don't even know where to begin. Don't even know
well,
where to
I
start.
think, yeah, maybe that is a little part of it, but I think more to your point is it's less about knowing where to begin and it's more, or sorry, it's less about knowing where to begin and it's more about actually believing that you can begin. Because I mean, like, you got to
Oh
want to
yeah,
begin.
yeah.
I mean, I don't care if someone picks up finger painting books about nutrition and each page only has one word on it. Read the whole book, read 20
Hmm.
words about nutrition. That's a start. But not enough people are willing to even pick up the finger painting book called Nutrition. Never mind, grab a PhD book. And
Yeah.
so, in absence of someone wanting to kickstart their own nutritional improvements, it requires someone like me to say, hey, Chance Bros, how much protein do you eat per day? Oh, you don't
And
know?
I
How
have no
about you
idea.
just let me know after about a week? Let's have a conversation after a week.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of how we started. I just needed to put
Yeah.
a hook into you so that you could get your nerd on, so that you could realize how underperforming you've been, so that you could then have the realization of, oh, I need to do this better.
Hmm.
Now you're off to the races. So it took someone to poke you in the chest a tiny bit to make you sit up and pay attention to this thing called protein.
Mhm.
Now we're into it.
Yeah, and this is where the game begins. Is
Mhm.
that at least? I mean, you said it with when you got your PTSD diagnosis from your doc, and you were like, "Good, at least like now I know where I
Good.
can.
That's
Now I
right.
have a
Within
direction."
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been feeling that with nutrition for the last little bit. And my wife called me out on this morning. I was weighing out my my yogurt for the morning,
Good.
and
Greek yogurt or a regular yogurt?
Greek yogurt with some
Look at you go, Chance
some
Burrows.
granola. Right, I told you I'm going hard in the paint for 3 days.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, but she called me out and she's like, you used to make fun of me for trying to weigh my food, and I was like, yep, I was an asshat.
Yeah. Good man. Good man. Good man for owning up to it.
Yeah. Well, that's and the sad part is that I have made a lot of dumb statements based off the fact that at the time I thought I knew.
Me too.
And now I realize I didn't. So at least I'm on the right direction.
It's
Like,
good
I'm
though,
not
man.
even-
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
mean, I'm happy for you.
Do I get a medal?
Nope. You just get another tongue lashing 24 hours from now on the next subject.
Another tongue lashing. Excellent. Well, let's get Daniel's question here because I think it's a good one.
Okay.
Daniel says, "What's your point of view on fair evaluations and having to adjust your set evaluation because of others due to their hyperinflation evaluation?"
So now I'm going to make the assumption that what we're referring to here by evaluations is military PERs or personal evaluation reports. Is that what we're talking about maybe?
I think so.
And then the reason I'm drawing that conclusion is because I do know when I was in, the system was kind of rigged as I saw it. So you had X amount of men that you were responsible to command and control, and you had to do X amount of evaluations on those men, and you were given a certain bracket of scores, and you could use those accordingly. So if you gave someone, we'll call it a score that they deserved, then someone was hobbled underneath them. And so it was a case of you had to take something away from someone to give something to someone else. And I never thought that that was a great system, to be honest.
There we go. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've actually had a similar. This one blew me away. It was one of my first times writing PERs. I was given scores. I wasn't even allowed to come up with my own scores. I was actually given scores and told that you need to make this fit for said person.
Right.
I was a master corporal at the time, and I was like, I don't agree with this. I don't think this is right. I don't think this is fair. And I got told, well, write them anyway. And I said, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
it isn't a good system, in my opinion. I'm not sure how it is now. So I'm going to be clear. When I was doing it and what's being done now, I don't know if they're the same two things. But when I was doing it, I thought it was a poor system. So if they're still doing it, it's a double poor system.
Yeah, I agree. I guess that's our point of view on it. we think it's bad. to put words together. Gerard Moores. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Gerard.
How's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
Good to see you. So yeah, that's a tough line to hold on to, but we will. Oh, and look at that, Satch is here too. Boom, hey Satch.
Morning, Satch. But on the other hand, in absence of that system that we just talked about, you're given a bracketed scoring system, and you've got to fit every man that you're commanding, controlling into that bracket, and you've got to take away from one to give to the other, etc. In absence of that, what is there? What is it replaced by? I don't know. I haven't studied the problem. I don't know if the military has studied the problem. All I do know is this. In respect to evaluating someone who's under my command or in my care and control, we'll call it, either on a biannual or an annual or whatever, bi-weekly, it doesn't matter. If I'm assessing someone, I want to be able to freely assess them within a construct, we'll call it 0 to 10, where as the evaluator, I'm going to evaluate it truthfully, fairly, in the real time, appropriately for what I'm seeing from that individual. I don't want to observe all of my men and then at the end of all of that observation, be handed a slip of paper and say, now fit them all into my construct.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't know them. I know them. Yes, but it's my construct game that you've got to play. I don't like that. I don't like that game at all. What I do like is a game that works, and that's called me observing my men for a year and then writing them up accordingly.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Jocko did a full breakdown of the Marine Corps evaluation for the preeminent Marine or something like that. It was like, and it's a 1 to 5 scale. And it's basically like 80% of Marines fall between 3 and 2.
Okay.
And then you have like 10% in 4s, and you got 1 5. Out of the entire Marine Corps, there's 1, and he is the preeminent Marine. And then you have some at 1s, which are basically, people you don't want within the Marine Corps, that kind of stuff. But
Speaking of the Marine Corps, sorry,
Where's
this might tie into what we're talking about right now. But my understanding is, and I haven't dug into this too much, and it could all be clickbaity, but I've been seeing a bit of a trend over the last kind of half year to a year where there are common references to the Marine Corps struggling a little bit in respect to not the traditions of the Marine Corps, but in the standards of the Marine Corps. And some people are wanting to lower them, and some people are wanting to keep them the same, of course. The standard should never be lowered. It should only be increased. But this is the topic at hand right now over the last year that I've seen among several headlines. And I don't know, man. It's like, what a slippery, erosive slope the moment that you start dropping standards and applying them just because no one wants to work a little bit harder.
I think also it stems from a good place. And this is the hard part, I think, that we don't really realize, is that the concept of lowering the standard seems like it's a good, like, we should allow more people to utilize their skill sets in a particular field, right? So I don't think it's meant to be like, oh, we need to bring the standard down so we can, slack off more. I think the idea of it is meant to be altruistic.
I
But
disagree.
the concept, okay, you disagree?
I think there's only one reason and one reason only to drop a standard, and that's because you need more warm bodies.
That does happen.
That's all. I mean, we need more people. We're going to drop the standard. If we had quadruple amount of people, if there was literally a human wave, and there were guards at the edge of that wave holding people back, saying, "No, you can't join the military," they wouldn't be dropping the standard. They'd be raising the standard.
Yeah.
So it's about warm bodies whenever a standard is dropped. It's not about how to give more people opportunities to cross migrate laterally within their career. That's not it. It's just we need more people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was thinking more generally for not just the Marine Corps, but like if you were to drop a standard for anything, like a entrance exam into a university or something, I think I know you actually, now that I think about it, it is bodies. You need more people.
And when you use the university example, that's actually not about bodies. It's about budget.
Yeah, money, which you need bodies.
We just need
money.
more bodies for the money so that the shareholders can get their annual boost.
Yep, you're exactly right. Satch has a good comment here. The quote from Heraclitus: "Out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't even be there. 80 are just targets. 9 are the real fighters, and we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. But the one is a warrior. He will bring the others back." Heraclitus. Yeah, that's a great quote, and I think it's mostly accurate for pretty much any field.
Yeah, it is. I've always enjoyed the quote, but I've enjoyed it from a singular perspective of I enjoy the spirit of the quote.
Yeah.
I enjoy what it represents as the spirit of the intent of what it's trying to put across. But if you put it back up again, the leading what I do see when I see that, or anytime I hear it, or whenever it comes up as a subject, I always think about the 80.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be 80. It could be 40, it could be 20, it could be none. If
Mhm.
a standard is high enough, if the system is squared away enough, if people care enough, that 80 number could be 30 instead of 80. And
Agree.
so I try not to focus on the one man, whether I ever was that one man, whether I ever will be that one man. Is it impossible for me to be that one man? I don't know. I don't think about that stuff. What I do think about is the 80 men. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It actually kind of interesting too is that if these 9, the real fighters, were to, oh, I don't know, train the 80 targets, you'd have a lot more fighters. And if that
Yeah. Or
warrior
train
taught
them
that,
or lead them.
lead
I
them, one
mean,
or the other, yeah.
dude, you could put 80 people in front of me this afternoon that I've never met and put a problem on the horizon. And within a matter of minutes, we would be defeating that problem. But that takes leadership. And so you could have 80 people in a body of 100 men, we'll call it, but with 9 real, not fighters, but 9 real leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You'll turn those 80 into 800 men.
100%. That'd be an interesting experiment, actually, if you think about it. If you were to take, like, let's say you picked a team of nine extra guys. Let's say you are the one warrior, just for
Sure, we'll play it out.
example, right? And then you get to pick nine of your best leaders, and
Yeah,
then you
which
get
is what I would want to do.
random 80 people, and then give your problem and see how long it takes to figure it out, because I think that would be a really great demonstration of the power of leadership, first off, but it would also demonstrate to the people that are actually working, or like the 80, what they're capable of.
I would love to do it, but it's
That'd be
what I've
amazing.
tried to do all my life, man, with athletes or with whoever. I mean, it's literally what I've tried to do.
I like it. Tanya says, Sean Sue, just don't behead anybody for disobedience, despite how much you want to. Thank you for that, Tanya. I appreciate it.
Well
It's
done.
fantastic. But yeah, I agree. Maybe we should, we were talking about having live events. Maybe we should do that as a live event. That would be freaking cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. All right.
Well, actually, on that point, buddy, there's real power to taking a group of people that have never been around. I don't know, the one leader, we'll call it. They've never been around that to see how it works
mhm.
as the example. And so, like within tier 1 as part of the selection, your job is to figure things out that are hard to figure out, but not just figure it out for you, figure it out for everyone in that room. And so that room then becomes your domain that you have to make awesome. And that's the difference between someone who's tier 1 and someone who isn't, as a simple phrase, is we'll find a way. It will get done. I don't know how yet, but it's going to get done, and it's going to
Mhm.
get done in a timely fashion. And so I don't need the solution. I'll come up with a solution with my team, with my group, whoever's standing around me. So if it's me in a room with 80 other people and 9 other leaders that I've handpicked, I don't care how big or small that room is. As a group, we'll figure it out. There is always a way, and we will find a way. And I think more people need to see that.
I agree. Well, I think that's something that maybe we could set up, because I think that would be freaking sweet.
It would be fun.
We could call it the 100,
God, that would be nice.
right? And then we could invite people to sign up for it, 80 people, and you'd have your team of 9, and then yourself, and then just random problems. Here you go. Poof, boom, boom.
What do they
boom,
call
boom.
it? The escape rooms or whatever. It'd
escape
be
room,
like
yeah,
an,
but-
it'd be like an escape room scenario, except me
Large
going
scale.
me going mental up on top of a roof, yelling at someone with bullhorns, double bullhorns.
That'd be
Get
awesome.
up here, you slackers! Get up here, you slackers!
Well, see, now the gears are turning in my head, because I'm like, ooh, that would
Don't
be
even start.
an
Just
event.
worry about coffee for now, okay?
Okay, I got coffee and food. Food,
Right.
coffee.
Eat enough, start brewing good coffee, then we'll talk.
Okay, Raj, I'm good with that. So Gerard Morris says, yes, PERs was very pragmatic, and you're right. It was always a fight against the regimental mafia.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And
Yeah.
you know, it's like I don't know, a strange and um disconnected relationship in a way. I mean, you spend the whole year working with your troops, kicking ass, taking names, and then out of the blue one day, some guy just gets on a bullhorn and says, "Give them all 7.3, except give someone else a 7.6. His name is Jimmy." That's it.
he
Like, dude,
he
where'd that
runs
voice
really
come
fast.
from? Where'd that disconnected voice come from?
It's true. It's 100% true. It's challenging to manage. And actually, I'm going to go back to the Jocko podcast because I just listened to a bunch of them. But 303 through 308 is about on the book of military incompetence.
Hmm.
Really good. It actually goes directly into this and how the concept of the fact that authoritarian types of people are very good at receiving authoritarian orders.
Hmm.
And so and the military being the military, it has an authoritarian construct.
To
And
some degree, yep.
because of that, the people that do or that can do really well are people that can follow the authoritarian construct. And you can start to come up in rank and just keep following the line. Just keep towing the line. Just keep towing the line. And without any sort of change or thought or anything, it's just linear. There we go. It's a fascinating podcast.
Yeah, but the important part is towing the line is another word for meeting the standard.
True.
And the standard is what creates the whole thing. The standard is good to go.
Yep.
So if you're towing the line called the standard, keep on towing. It's when you step off the line. It's when you're not meeting the standard. Now, there's only two ways that can go. If you're stepping off the line because you're not meeting the standard because you're backsliding, stand by for burpees. But if you're stepping off the line to try to improve things, to try to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and take the standard higher, okay, now you don't have to do burpees. So to me, the standard is you toe the line unless you've got a better idea that you can prove to me is better by doing burpees in a more efficient or effective way, whatever, then I'm interested. But until then, the standard is the standard.
I think there's another angle here that we're forgetting about, or that perhaps because we did discuss it, and this is what we talked about yesterday, was the fact that there's the standard, right, and those that you should be pushing yourself to your limit, but then there are the people that push themselves to the standard and no further.
That's right.
And
the minimum standard.
The minimum standard, exactly. And I think that becomes invasive because
it does.
That's
it's
where
corrosive.
you get the PDRs of like, here are the numbers, fill it out. That's where it leads to eventually, is that it's just do what has been told dogmatically down the line with no thought or creativity or development or anything of that. I think it was really great series of podcasts that I just finished listening to. So I'm all up in that right now.
You're encouraging people to listen to it.
I would. I think 303 to 308, I believe, 6, and definitely read the book. I'm going to go get the book myself. And
do you know what a bummer part is, as you just lay that out there, is when someone is evaluating their troops and they're stuck with having to give 10 7.3s and one 7.6. All of a sudden, every individual that's in front of you, all the troops that you've looked after for a year and improved. Like, I'm going to talk for myself. I won't talk for any other senior NCO. I'll just say what I did. I turned my guys over a year into more kick-ass. And so if last year they were a 7.3 and this year they're a 7.3, now they're being treated as if they are just straight up numbers rather than the individuals who improved over a year, rather than individuals that I know by their first name, rather than individuals who really stepped up their game. They're just being treated as a non-name, as a non-person. And it's unfair to those individuals, and we all know it's unfair.
Yeah.
They know it's unfair.
Yeah.
And that's the dissonance. That is the desynchronization of someone getting after it for a year and then at the end of the year being treated as if that year didn't occur. It's not, I don't think it's caring. And I mean that sounds dumb when we're talking about the military. But I just, the system to me is not personal enough.
Yeah.
And that creates contentious feelings. Like if you've really put yourself into the game for a hard year, and then at the end of the year, someone gives you one of these and walks away, it's not cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my particular challenges actually was the fact that that happens. It does happen regularly. So just to play it out here, I just wanted to make sure that I get it right. The book is called The Psychology of Military Incompetence, written by Norman Dixon, who actually was in the military, was wounded, and is also a psychologist. So
what era was he wounded in? Was it Vietnam or?
I think it was Korea.
Okay.
I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to do a little bit more research on it. The book was written in 1976, so the psychology part of it's probably not as nuanced as it is now. But 303 to 308, I definitely go listen to that, and then I'm going to be getting the book myself so that I can learn more. We do have a comment from Tanya. She says, John Danaher discusses how he's very authoritarian for beginners and very liberal once his students reach a high enough skill level. Does this apply to military leadership? I would say so. What do you think?
For me, I do believe that's it's kind of what you got to do to become tier 1-ish, or at least an independent operator, whatever that means to anyone else. For you, as an example, within the combat engineers, that might mean that you are enabled to go kick ass, free flowing. And so that's probably not happening too often in your career industry.
Divers.
Divers, right.
Yeah, those guys are all
but it definitely happens within tier 1. I mean, you are authoritarian as a beginner, and you come up through the system, and then at each checkpoint, you're given more and more latitude, or more ways to kind of hang yourself almost when you screw up. But it's a self-selecting process, Tanya. And so Danaher maybe applies this as well, but you keep giving an inch to see how they're gonna try to maybe take a mile, and somewhere in that process they make a whole pile of mistakes, and they either improvise, adapt, and overcome and become better, or they don't. But it's a self-filtering process. The closer you move towards the tip of the spear, the more the liberalness of your movements or of your abilities is allowed for, because you've passed through the filter gates.
It's funny too, because from the ground level, let's say from, I don't know really, standard regular line combat arms are tier 3.
I don't know if there's such a term. I don't know. Standard issue line infantry.
Line infantry, sure. It's quite interesting because we all those people want is more latitude. And so you start to see people with more latitude, and you're like, ooh, how do you get there? I'm going to go try that, right? And then you go hang out with the recce guys, because they have.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
And then
you literally took the words out of my mouth. Is how do you do that? How do you get that free flowing ability? How do you get that latitude to be able to go do things? Well, you don't. You don't.
Yeah.
The people who do are already doing it, and they're already doing it because they already passed through the filters.
Yep.
You got to pass through a filter in order to go do. You can't stand on the sidelines, watch it be done, and think, oh, I'm going to go do that today myself. No, you ain't. You're going to go take a recce course.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go fail it. Then you're going to get really angry at yourself. And then you're going to hit the chin-up bar. And then you're going to go past your next recce course. And once you pass your recce course, you passed it through a filter gate. And now you have a little more latitude.
Yeah. Which is, again, the way it should work. And unfortunately, from my experience, if you went on a recce course and you failed, you'd never get another recce course.
Yeah, you're right. It's very much a individual moment at that point. I mean, so a guy gets injured, breaks his leg halfway through the course, but he's like mega squared away. He's going to get another
He'll get
chance.
another shot. Yeah.
He gets a stick in the eye. He's going to get another chance. So injuries, if you're a hard charger and you have potential and they want you to be all that you can be, you'll get a second chance.
Yeah. I just mean like if you fail it, like a
Yeah.
like you
Yeah, if you
fail a
suck.
task and you suck,
Yeah,
right? Oh,
that's right.
you're done. And it's unfortunate because there are a lot of people that'll be like, no, I'm going back, and then they could at times. And I think this is where I know I failed for sure was when I hit a wall like that. I was like, well, I guess I'm never getting another shot at him, and I would just
That's
move on to something else.
Yeah, maybe you were surrounded
Fortunately,
by quitters.
I
Maybe
was.
maybe your influences were crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't surrounded by quitters. I
Mm,
was surrounded by guys who refused to accept you got to quit. So, whether I liked it or not, I was brought up by dudes who just didn't quit. I
yeah.
mean, generally speaking, I'm not saying
Yeah. Yeah.
all of them, but they set an example of there's no quit in us.
Yeah. I think it was very institutionalized, right? So when I saw other people bring up something and it got shut down, they were like, "Well, okay, well that's that."
Yeah, it's a bummer, man.
And
It's
I was
a
like,
it's
"Yeah,
a
okay,
bummer
that's that."
when you're young and you think that that's how the system works because that's the way the system is working. But I just encourage anyone who's in the service right now, if they listen to this, don't pay attention to what's happening 10 years down the pipeline in front of you in the sense of careers. Do you make the
Yeah,
system better? You,
yeah,
you're young, smart, and then one day you'll be in charge.
hmm
Do it right.
yeah, and just keep going, right? If you want to send 52 memos to the RSM in a year, send 52 memos to the RSM in a year. You will get an answer,
Yeah,
one way
it
or the
might
other.
be like peeling potatoes, but what
It
you
might be.
can do instead of sending anything to the RSM is send nothing to anyone other than the invisible message to everyone around you of leadership by example.
Oh, 100%.
Go kick
Yeah,
ass,
just yeah.
kick ass, and eventually someone will see how much ass is being kicked, and then they'll want to kick some their own. And that's just the
Yeah.
way it goes.
Also, don't be afraid to be put in charge, because that's what's going to happen, or at least that's what happened in my
Seek and
experience.
accept responsibility.
When you come up with an idea, it's not so much an idea like, oh, this is great, and it'd be great if you did this for us. No, if you come up with an idea, it's yours, and you're going to be running it. So figure that out, because that's going to happen. We do have some other questions, comments from yesterday we still haven't gotten to.
Hit
So
it.
I'm gonna jump into those real quick here. So we talked about this yesterday, the conviction back and forth, and I wanted to carry this on because the next few slides apply.
Shoot.
Next one, accountability to oneself. So this is a response to the particular, the last one here. It was accountability to oneself. Check your ego at the door when someone helps you with the one's trust, and act on advice from others, and do not defend prior actions or mistakes. Seb has actually, unknowing to him, helped me and my son immensely. And this was when we were talking about accountability with Seb.
Okay.
When he was in the car. And I just wanted to bring that up because this line right here of act on advice from others and do not defend prior actions or mistakes. I really love that line. And I wanted to see if you had any nuance or depth that you wanted to discuss about that.
Yeah, I do, and I think that that is too strong of a sentence in when it says, "Do not defend prior actions or mistakes." Why? Why wouldn't you defend them?
Mm,
Now, I'm not saying that you've got to like dig a trench system and defend them. I'm not saying that you've got to be dogmatically defending them. But what I'm challenging you with is why wouldn't you defend them? And by that I mean that's how you learn whether you were making the right decision or the wrong decision. So if someone presents to you an alternative, like we'll call it quote unquote a better action or a non-mistake, the only way that you can understand that is to contextualize it. understand where you made a mistake or where your prior actions were wrong. And then you've got to defend it at least to yourself to see, why did I choose that? In trying to defend my prior actions, I'm actually critically analyzing my mistakes rather than keep shrugging your shoulders and saying, whatever, man, like, I don't know why things keep going wrong, but someone keeps telling me good advice and I'm just going to keep doing what people tell me to do. But everything just seems to go wrong and I never understand why. I
Mm.
think you've got to like critically analyze your past actions and to some degree defend your rationalization of those actions in order to better ascertain why you were defending them, why you thought that. Because if you don't try to defend them in your mind, then what are we talking about? Everything is all just chance at that point.
Well, the funny thing is that the way I read it was, do not defend prior actions or mistakes in that, like digging in your heels kind of defense
Yeah,
of
that's
just
fair
like,
enough.
no.
Yeah. Again, if we're talking about dogmatic or
Hmm.
dogmaticism, then yeah, I agree. But stepping it back from dogmatic, I mean, you have to analyze through almost a defensive mindset of why did I think that was correct? Or
Mm.
the mistakes that I thought were not mistakes, why did I think they weren't mistakes?
Yeah.
Otherwise, every time someone says to you, "Hey, Chance, you did that wrong." Yeah, okay, cool. Hey, Chance, you did. Okay, cool. Like, where's the lesson from that? You know what I mean? There's no
Hmm.
reflection. So
Right.
maybe by the term defending is the thing that I'm
Yeah.
tripping up on because there's nuances to that word.
Yeah.
And so the devil is in the details, of course. If we're talking about nuance, then you've got to ascertain or analyze or critically determine where you are making mistakes in order to proceed forward off of those corrections.
Yeah. I agree. Tanya asks, would a more accurate phrase be accountable but not
Yes,
defensive slash that? Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. I was just thinking that in order to be able to actually fix something that you've done wrong, or to really understand that it was a mistake, you have to know why you made that choice to begin with.
Yeah.
Because if you
And
don't,
not
then yeah,
just in
it's
your
just
own
a
little peanut,
yeah.
because I mean, that's what you've been doing for a while.
Hmm.
But at the moment that you start talking out loud with someone who's talking out loud with you, once you put the words out, it's hard to pull them back. Now you're engaged in a conversation called it isn't a time machine conversation. You're
Hmm.
having to deal with quote unquote the consequences of your actions in the past and then the outcomes in the future. But there's none of that happening if you're all up in your own peanut. Then you get to spin it however you want. Oh, that wasn't my fault. Oh, that was his fault. It was blah, 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 whatever. But when you're out loud verbalizing with someone, there's no luxury of saying, well, that's not my fault because
Hmm.
I'm telling myself whatever I want to hear in my own little head.
I think it also applies to that previous slide there of the, pull it up here, in regards to conviction, right? Like if you have conviction over something and you think that this is absolutely right 100% of the time, this is the way it's going to be, without any second thought or any nuance into it at all, similar to defending your actions or mistakes, then you can't learn. You can't get past that. You just are stuck in that dogmaticism. At least that's my thought
Yeah,
on it.
well, so reverse Uno card that, and now it's someone with no conviction
Mm,
and they're dogmatic.
yeah.
Now it's a double
Right.
bad.
Right.
So you've got one side of the coin, you got the other side of the coin. One is awesome, one sucks.
Yeah.
And there's not much difference between the two of them other than mindset.
That's very true. It is very true. Anything else on this? Or do you want to jump
No.
on the next one? Okay. So the next one, and this is a comment. I ask people for, when they send me messages and they're like, "Hey, that was a good show. Thanks for doing it, doing what you do." And I ask for, "Oh, well, what was your takeaway from it?" And
Check.
this is one of them. So once again, a good one. Made me think about the saying "You owe you" by Eric Thomas. Sometimes we abstain from doing things for ourselves because of the forethought of doing so would be selfish. And when you realize you have been doing a lot for those in your surroundings and now seek to do something for you, it is a good revelation. I truly believe it is a struggle many go through, but get that revelation too late in our lives. There's no better time than now. Hope you both are well. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is a struggle for many people, many people, of constantly working for others around them. And we talked about this in the externalizing
The me thing,
the,
me
the
time.
the excuse of external proxy. That's what we were talking
Oh, yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you constantly work for other people, constantly, and then finally, you're 50 or 60 or 70, and you've spent your entire life working for other people, and you're like, oh, now what? now you were like, oh, there's so many things in my life I want to do, but I don't have, you lack time now, or you lack the opportunity, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to bring that up. Do you have any thoughts on that one? Because
I do, because it's a critical distinction between doing things for ourselves because it would be selfish, or doing things for yourselves because that's going to make you a better person. I don't think it has to be one or the other. Like, I'm literally doing this for me right now. This, as I speak, it's for me and for you and for anyone who's listening. So I don't feel like I'm abstaining from anything. I feel like I'm actively pursuing improvement in my life. And I think that's an important distinction, because you can be at your job, and as it states, sometimes we abstain from doing things for ourselves because of the forethought of doing so will be selfish. When you realize you have been doing a lot for those in your surroundings and now seek to do something for you, is a good revelation. So as I read that, I was thinking, like, mostly work in a work setting, like in the military or in your,
Yep.
your large corporate organization, or whatever the case is. You're out there working for the institution, but you're not working for yourself. As I read this is kind of the message. Don't be that. But no one has to be, of course. I mean, like, you can be in your job, the military, the institution of the larger industry that you're in, whatever the case is. You can still, you owe you. You can still do you. You can still, like, it not be all about you, but mostly about you, while still making everything around you better. I think it's an easy trap to fall into unless you think about it. You think you
100%.
go to work and now you're working for the work, but you can also work for you while you're working for the work.
Absolutely. Yep. I could not agree more with that. That was you get a thumbs up for me.
Okay.
I know that's what you look for every day, but
Thank you.
yeah, that's what it's there. I think you get employee of the day today.
Yeah, right.
Just for that comment.
Yeah, just trying to do my best at work, pal.
There you go. Excuse me. Gerard Moore says, definitely, Shaun. Mistakes are learning lessons for soldiers at any level. You made a decision and justify it. And through this, we learn more.
Yeah, that's an awesome comment.
Just don't repeat it.
Correct. Those are called burpees.
Exactly. All right. So we got one more here. And this was a comment thread from one of the shows here. And I just wanted to highlight it because I think it's great. Daniel said, living with a sense of impermanence, we earn each new day with the effort from the previous day. We should go to bed each night spent. Sometimes you don't know where you're going until you get there. And further to Julie's point, sometimes you don't know where you were needed to be until you've left it. Which is also true. And I think those are some really fantastic comments based off of the fact that we gotta, live your life, man. Live your life, not somebody else's. And in order to do that, you got to figure out who you are to begin with.
Yeah, you do live your own life, but it's not to some degree it's a solo journey, but you're surrounded by people. So what are we all doing here? Are we all just running a solo program and with no concern for the broader world around us? Or are we running a solo program while trying to interact with the world around us? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to run a better game for me so that I can interact with the world around me in a better way. I mean, if I'd have spent my entire life living in a cave and not reading a book or not talking to anyone, I don't have much to offer. But by interacting with the world around me on my own solo journey to try to be better, and that by saying that, it sounds like somehow I'm being selfish or not considerate of everyone around me. quite the opposite. By
Mm,
focusing on trying to make myself better, it's it's, um, it's indicative of how much I wanna be to all those around me. So focus on you, your solo journey, while interacting with the journey.
mm. I think there's a great point there in what you just said is the fact. I mean, there's a few great points there. The key thing that I'm bringing from it is that the concept of being selfish, I think, is needs some tweaking
It does.
because when we think of being selfish, we think about just thinking about us. But in reality, you in order to be selfish, like if I want me to be the best person I can be, that just helps everybody around me just by that fact that I'm being the best person I can be. And that technically is selfish because I'm only working on myself. But it applies to everybody else. So I think that the concept of being selfish needs to be adjusted at least a
It
little bit.
it does, and where I see it going a little wrong, and it's we were talking about it the other day, it's that me time.
Yeah.
It gets distorted into, um, it can only be about me and me and me time, me time, me time. But that's just so wrong. It
Mhm.
it's gotta be about you doing your best to interact with the journey around you. That's me time all the time. But that doesn't mean that it's in absence of everyone else or at the convenience of you or only your luxuries or screw the rest of you. It's all about me. It's none of that. I mean, me
Mhm.
time is you just doing your best in the journey. Sometimes you need to do it by yourself. Sometimes you're with other people. Sometimes you're petting your dog on the head. Doesn't matter what it is. Me time is you doing your best in the journey.
Yeah. I think, the concept of me time has been distorted from the concept of
Yeah.
being, present.
Yeah.
And that when people think about me time or going on a vacation or going, they need to get out and do something else. It's a bit of a pattern interrupt, but the thing that's actually happening is the fact that you're you're finally being intentional on yourself.
Mm.
So, you draw yourself a bubble bath and you have a glass of wine or whatever, right? Or you go to the BJJ mats or you
And neither
yeah,
of those things have ever happened to me, but okay,
sure.
cool. It's
Sure, sure,
just,
sure.
it's weird, but
I know how
okay, I'll
much you
go
like
with you.
bubble baths. Anyway, what I mean is that like people will take the time to do something for themselves and they will call it me time.
Right.
And but all they're doing is being intentional about their own needs.
Right.
But it only happens once in a while rather than being intentional all the time and
Well,
being go ahead.
the irony is this: they are intentional about drawing a bubble bath and pouring a glass of wine for their escapism moment.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have any issues with the whole bubble bath, glass of wine thing if it was about they're gonna go deeper. They're
Yeah.
going to explore themselves. They're going to take that quote unquote me time and improve themselves,
Mhm.
improve me. But it isn't that, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's putting all of that stuff at a beyond arm's distance and I was gonna say mindlessly, but not thoughtfully engaging in the moment. It's
Yeah.
escapism.
Yeah. 100%. I agree. It's a cheap excuse for
Mhm.
being in the moment. And it's unfortunate that and we just don't get taught this. We just don't get taught this as kids as we don't see people doing it on a regular basis anymore.
It's not openly talked about.
And I think we used to, like
Mhm.
your generation, previous generations, you would see people take those moments. And I remember watching, I think it was my granddad at one point, and he got off a horse and he just stood there for a second. And I could see him like he was smelling, he was
Mm,
just taking it all in, staring at the
mm,
mountains, taking that second, being in that moment. And it was just normal for
mhm.
him, and that's what he saw other people do growing up, right? Oh, you know what? This is a beautiful moment. I'm going to take it.
But it
Excellent.
didn't turn into a vacation.
No, exactly. And then you just went back to work. But it
Yeah,
was
that's
that
right.
moment.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that I don't suggest everybody just stop and like stare off in the distance, but be intentional with it, right? If there's a moment, take a moment.
Yeah, enjoy
Be
it,
there,
but don't
right?
turn it into a mini vacation.
Exactly.
And by the way, like if someone thinks that I'm hating on bubble baths and glass of wine and not thinking because it's called escapism, it's not that I'm hating on it. I'm just calling it what it is. And if that's what you need, then carry on. Go
Mhm.
get your escapism. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying know what you're doing. And if you're slipping into the bath and not thinking, maybe that's what you need.
Mhm.
But don't do it thoughtless. Don't enter thoughtlessness thoughtlessly.
Ooh, I like that. That's got to be a T-shirt.
Dude, come on.
Don't enter thoughtlessness thoughtlessly. I like that a lot. I think that would maybe another mug. I don't know. We'll see what happens for some merch. So we've covered actually quite a bit of topics. Much
Did
better
we
than we did
though? I don't know
yesterday.
if we did. We
Well,
covered more than yesterday.
I think we covered one general topic
Right.
over multiple slides and questions.
Right.
And I think it really comes back down to being intentional. At least in my thought. What do you think?
I think.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, not really. No.
No. All right. Cool. Well, Gerard Moore says, right on. Chin ups for everyone. I'm down. I'm gonna pull out my bar. I'm gonna go pound off a couple when I go upstairs. So
Good man.
there we
Good
go.
man.
And perhaps even these things called push-ups.
Dude, don't do that. Don't freak out your spoon-like chest.
Well, I got to do something with it. It's
You do. It's
oh
all.
man,
Is it concave? I don't even know what's going on there. It's like
not entirely.
If you could, if things ever get really bad, like if there's some sort of water shortage or whatever, like the planet is, we're heading towards the apocalypse, dude, you'll be able to lay on your back and just like relax
Collect
your
water.
chest and collect water for the village.
I was thinking if there was anything dangerous happening, I could just turn sideways and nobody they would see me.
That's right.
The ultimate camouflage. But yeah, so I'm thinking this is my goal. I'm thinking if I could put maybe 20, 30 pounds on in terms of muscle, and I could sit probably somewhere around 240, 250. I think that would be a good weight for me.
That feels a bit heavy, I think.
It's a
240 for you?
I'm at like 216 right now, and I'm feeling very thin. So
are you hanging on to a bit of a beer gut though? I know you're off the beer, but are you hanging on to a bit of like gut?
There's a little bit of a, not so much a belly, but like a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
So
which ain't a bad thing. I'm
No.
just curious as to how much muscle you can put on healthily.
I think I could probably put on 20 or 30 pounds. This is what my assessment. Again, I don't know anything. I'm just throwing
Already
numbers
established.
out
That's right.
there. Yeah. So my guess is if I could probably, initially I wanted to hit 220. That was like my goal, and then I hit 220, and I was still super thin, and I was just like, I don't really know where to go from here. But yeah, so with nutrition and some solid workouts and some strength training, and I think
don't get all Chance Burrows crazy by trying to like become a superhuman in 3 days and then quit. Ease into it, buddy.
Hard to the paint.
Ease into it.
I am, and I'm actually I'm understanding the depth of time that is required. And I think for many years, because it wasn't happening super quick.
It's your generation, like, man.
Whatever,
I mean,
yeah.
I want it by today.
Yeah. Well, that's the plan. At least not anymore. It isn't. Right now, the plan is take my time.
Good.
And just
that's the healthiest approach.
And it happened with this. Somebody asked me about the collective. And I was talking to Zach about it, and he was like, "Oh man, you guys are doing great work, and you got lots of episodes, and I'm surprised you're not seeing the return and your analytics and stuff." I'm like, "Dude, we've only been going for 3 months."
I suppose I don't even think about it to even know what we've been doing. I suppose, yeah.
But I mean, we have over 100 episodes already. You have over 200 friggin' live chats just in general.
Yeah.
And so, like, because the numbers are inflated, but the time isn't dilated, it's very hard to make some sort of like recognition on growth.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, this is the truth of the matter. I swear this is what I think. Um, man, I'm gonna be dead, and eventually somebody will start listening to this stuff.
Yeah,
I kinda think it might get listened to when I'm dead.
maybe.
I expect, like, 0 pats on the back. I expect 0 spotlight, and I'm quite pleased with that, so
Yep.
maybe when I'm dead, it'll help someone, you know what I mean?
Well, it's helping me. So
Oh,
we'll call that.
yeah, it's fair, and it's helping me,
Yeah.
but that's just 2 of us, and I know that Gerard could have been on here a little bit longer. If he would
Hmm.
have stuck around a little bit longer, he
He's
could have
still here.
helped us.
He did. He told me don't bulk, cut, then build.
I love it. That's great.
There you go. So he's here. And Tanya's still here. She's a consistent, slow work is key. I went
Oh,
from
that's
0 pull
fantastic.
ups to more than chance.
Yeah. We gotta close the show on that, buddy. I mean, like, we could
Wow.
ramble
Yeah.
on here, but that's just like a closer. Show
So
closer.
as we as I have now learned that Tanya can do more pull-ups than me, I am going to go build a better chest and shoulders so that I can grow my pull-ups beyond her. And hopefully y'all can join us tomorrow. We'll see you then. Chimo.
Chimo.